I almost said good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Well, today is January the 18th, and welcome to a briefing by the State Board of Elections, and this is the Ways and Means Committee. And we are very excited to have the sort of newly sworn in, it's been a few months perhaps, Jared Demarinis at his first briefing and appearance in his official role. So I will let you take it over.
Yes, and Madam Vice Chair, I appreciate everything, and I look forward to being a part of this. And yeah, this is my first briefing as the new State Administrator of Elections, so I'm quite excited about this. He came in late again, so yeah, exactly right. So so thank you, and I just wanted to introduce a couple of people here as well. We have Alan Norfleet here. He's the new Director of Candidacy and Campaign Finance. So he took over my position. Exactly. So you're going to need to know him. So yes. Jen McLaughlin, who is going to be here a lot with she's with the mail-in ballot coordinator for us as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And of course, Katie Berry, who is the new Deputy Administrator as well. You may remember her in her other role as the election director from Carroll County and also the Mayo legislative, liaison. Thank you. I was looking for that word. So yes, but yes, we're here, and so it's been great. But we've had other sort of retirements as well along the lines there, and we've been filling up all our vacancies as quickly as possible. There's been I think, with this opportunity of having new people in here, we're bringing in new ideas and energy to the State Board of Elections. And I'm looking forward to it. And I really want to engage and make, elections fun again and moving it, something that would be a positive impact here. So along the lines there, we also are trying to convert as many of our contractual positions into permanent state positions. And Jen is the poster child for that as well here, because her contractual position was basically for mail-in ballots. But as we all know, that mail-in ballots has now been almost a dominant force in our elections, constituting in 2020 over half, and in 2022 a good third of the votes were cast by mail-in. And it is an important one to have that, and we want to bring that in-house, not contractual, and have more data that can be provided to you and the campaigns as well, and for the public and for the press who's here as well. So on the board, we have currently one vacancy on our board, but this will not deter us from holding up any of our operations or our mission for the 2024 presidential elections and our preparations for that. Basically, we'll only need 4 votes, and to pass any motion. The board has a history of working collaboratively and in a nonpartisan manner for finding solutions for all Marylanders to make sure that they are enfranchised. So we are, not going to be deterred, and just moving forward with that as we continue on here. I just wanted to tell a little bit about myself here. You all know me, but I believe in proactive election management and not to be reactive here. So in a couple of, in our short time so far, some of the things that we've done was that we've updated and reviewed a lot of the procedures within the agency to make sure that we're following all DBM's policies on hiring and firing. We also want to be more transparent with the board and with the public. And you can see this in my administrator's report with the idea that we have a procurement now being reported publicly, which is what's in development, under review, and being awarded. So this has always been a point of contention. I've also spoken with the counties and their finances officers as well about what's coming in the pipeline so that they can prepare their budgets in an appropriate manner. So this is where we're all going there. We've also are starting to engage in several in-house pilot programs to help us to develop some strategies and specific policies. Most notably the use of AI in this facility here. And we want to engage this. This is new technology, and how to use it. We're training an AI, I guess, I don't know what it's called, but we are training that, but everything will be still reviewed by us before it gets sent out. But we are looking at that and how to engage in that facility to help, I guess, look at and serve the people as well. Right now, we have a call center that is up and running, and we average about 120 calls a day through the call center. So as you can see, the uptick in emails will only just increase. So if we have this tool that we're going to implement, which is in progress, we're going to develop it. So stay tuned. We're going to probably have a press release on that, and also how we've trained it, what the information we gave to it, because that's important when you use these tools with AI, because that's how it gives out the answers. So this is very important to us. Additionally, we have started to tackle the problem of retention, and with the election directors out there, we know that there's about a 25% election directors that are brand new to the community, and they have never experienced a presidential or an election in any sort of way here. I have tasked Mayo, which is their organization, to have a mentorship program. So, I would say more seasoned election directors in their area have to be able to, help and assist these new election directors out, making sure that they're a part of and understanding what they need to do for preparations for the 24 elections. Additionally, I've required Mayo to establish a redistricting committee to start documenting the institutional knowledge before others retire by 2020 or by 2030. Because we all know that redistricting is going to be coming here very soon. And with new people on board, they've never done a redistricting effort. So we want to make sure that it's all documented how to do it and, take that institutional knowledge. So this will help, I would say, ease and mitigate those problems with new election directors there. Along the lines there, we're also establishing the Maryland Election Administration Education Program here for everyone. It is a professional class for election officials and staff, which will be through SBE, and it will give them training and making sure that they're up to date on all the current issues, laws, so that everyone can have confidence and knowledge in providing efficient, secure, and efficient and reliable elections to the citizens of Maryland. These are kind of some of the initiatives that we're doing to help make sure that we're having a uniformed but also efficient method out there. We also am committed to making sure that the voter registration rolls are up to date and accurate. I am a strong supporter of the ERIC program here. I just signed a letter of support with my other member states, trying to convince New York State to join ERIC, which will be a nice coup for that, because we would be sharing data with now a big state that would be in the Northeast that may or may not have people that are moving back and forth to help with the rolls. Additionally, we have engaged in the pilot program, which was paid for and established by the Election Assistance Commission, the Experian pilot there. So that's another way we're going to have another tool, make sure that our voter registration rolls are up to date. So we're making sure, as members left ERIC, this is another way that I feel as though that we're going to ensure that we have accurate rolls moving forward for the 2024 elections. I'm also on social media, if you're not aware or if you're not following me. And along the lines here, we're trying to make sure that in battling disinformation and misinformation out there, that SBE is a trusted source for information. So not only will SBE have a social media presence, but I will be out there making sure that, people are engaging and making outreach through that method there. And this is mostly for, I would say, a lot of the youth out there, because that's how they communicate. And I think that this is important because, social media, once you have any sort of information gets out there, it spreads, virally. And at least now, as a trusted source, we have some sort of pushback there. It might not be a lot of pushback, but it's something. I think that it's important that we engage in this. Additionally here, we have engaged in contracts to search for terms out there on social media sites to see about disinformation. And I've expanded those terms not just to include English, but to include Spanish and Chinese, because I think that as those are our biggest communities in our state, and they need also to make sure that they're not getting misinformation as well. So I believe that those are important aspects on how to do this. One of the things that I'm also going to start doing about engagement is just, rebranding the State Board of Elections with this new energy here, and that's called with updating our logo and, engaging in any sort of activities for us to be out in the public. And if anybody wants to play pickleball, I'll be happy to play you guys in pickleball. It's a fun sport. We can tweet it or, put it on Insta and, anything else, especially if you help me recruit election judges. So I'll be happy to do that. I believe in a cooperation and partnerships, and a successful 2024 presidential election just doesn't start with me or end with me being and having a successful elections, but it includes my staff and, more importantly, the local boards of elections. We're all partners in this endeavor here. And, part of that in reaching out to the local boards of elections, if you haven't been following me, is that I've toured each and every local board of elections to talk with the directors and their staffs. I visited their warehouses and listened to their concerns and their issues. So I've been really trying to focus on that. I have a few more to go this year to complete all 24 jurisdictions. But it's been a nice little tour of the state and understanding everyone's little problems and concerns, but also getting a feel for other parts of it that I've never really even visited. Additionally, I just want to always say that I have a partnership with the members of the General Assembly, with this committee. I'm always here to help guide, provide guidance on any of your legislation and, provide information. So, I believe in expanding voting rights. Of course, I want to have 100% voter registration and 100% turnout. I mean, that's the goal that we always want for everything. So I'm always willing to engage and develop workable solutions with you and this committee. And, the only thing as I request is no big changes for 24. It make it all for 26. Just nothing right now. We're too close. So, with this here, I just wanted to talk about what you did last session in the 2023 session. House Bill 410, which was the new polling place requirement plans. This was an extensive effort by the local boards. We have required full-time staff to help support the local boards in this endeavor here. And we have actually, had a person that was dedicated to the supporting 410 on that. So it's been great. I think that this has been one of the last pieces in the puzzle for documentation for election planning by the local boards here. And one of the things that now that we have all these plans that I want to do is change it, because I think we've done it in a piecemeal manner here. We've had early voting plans that we submitted. We've have Dropbox plans that were submitted to me, and now we have the polling place plans. And one of the things for the 2024 election is that I'm going to combine those three plans by county and publish it on the website, so that then you get a complete picture within your county of how to vote, where you can vote, all your options at that point there. So this is more of an electoral plan, and I think that that's probably a more conducive way of looking forward to this. Along the lines there on 410, we have published it, and I think that they've been up on the website there for everyone to look at. The local boards have made significant progress to get back to 2018 levels. In Madam Chair's home county, there was an increase of some more polling places for Howard County, which was great. It wasn't at 2018 levels. I can admit that because we've had redistricting along the lines there, and there was other factors, but it was in the right direction. Somerset County was another one that moved in the right direction. That kept on increasing it. So, the message was heard, and, why it was important. And it was something that was relayed over to them as well. And I think that if we now look at these plans holistically with all three, we can kind of see where we can make up other places with drop boxes, or if, you know, early voting centers are being moved, make sure to hit those areas that are, you know, being, I would say, combined, consolidated. You know, we can look at it in a different light instead of just in these little silos. Another one was House Bill 1200, which was about the election judge compensation. This has been, you know, required some, you know, planning, but we've implemented that. We have made sure that overall, that, you know, I think that this is making a difference here with how we are going to, you know, get some more judges. We have, I think, 8, you know, a lot of the judges right now are returning judges. I think we have filled about 60% of all our judge requirements right now for that. And of the 60% that have, you know, signed up to be an election judge, 60% of that 60% are returning judges. So it is shown that, you know, that it has made some of an impact. $100 means something. And if they come back, so I'm appreciative of those efforts there. And of course, we have House Bill 535, which is Delegate Feldmark's bill there. Thank you. And I think that we have started to do a lot of the curing via text. And I think the idea of the 43-day domestic mailing deadline start date there has really relieved a lot of concern, I think, from voters, but from campaigns. Everyone now knows there's a date certain, and local boards appreciate that too, because now we can start planning from 43 days, what that means, and it will help with the canvas going forward with it. So I think that these are things that we have started to make sure. We have we are starting to make sure that voters can start to track their ballots via the post office as well. And we are, you know, making sure that we had the pilot program for the cure by texting and in Montgomery County, and now we're going to expand that statewide through this bill here. So, and then finally, we had House Bill 192, which is campaign finance, and just making sure that there is no cryptocurrency going forward there. So thank you very much on that. So those were the last year's initiatives that where we are with implementing those and moving forward with it. I'll move to the preparations now for the 2024 presidential election. We've had redistricting efforts in Baltimore City, and they've been underway. The city is, you know, implementing the mayor's plans and moving forward with that. Worcester County had also engaged in emergency redistricting efforts. The county did not pass legislation after the census in 2020 for the 2022 election. It was passed in late December. It was, you know, we have been working with the local board of LBE director there on its impact. And one of the things that I want to make note here, the committee, is that there is no legal deadline or procedures for in that county charter on, you know, how, who, or when that redistricting has to occur, like in other counties. So it's kind of a strange loophole or just omission, which is why they had to do it now and they rushed it through. So it was just kind of something that no one really thought of or planned for, but legislation may be needed to help kind of make sure that that redistricting is with all the other redistricting efforts. So, do you like it like that? I don't know. So, on the expected turnout, we have, of course, 3 ways of voting. You know, vote by mail, in-person early voting, and in-person election day voting there. And we are planning, of course, you know, to look at and making sure that, you know, one of the things with the vote by mail figure is that the permanent absentee ballot list makes up about 75 to 80% of the people that want to vote by mail. So we kind of have the ability to plan for that. We have just recently mailed out the last of the requirements from legislation to every registered voter, every Democrat and Republican registered voter, an application if they want to join or be on the vote by mail for the 2024 election. Right now, out of that, it was a paper copy. There was two ways that a voter could then request it off the paper copy. They can go to the QR code, or they can fill out the form and mail it back with a prepaid postage mail back to us. Our data we haven't been finalized yet, but it looks like more people are using the QR code than actually mailing things back to us. So we'll probably get more information about that, but it looks like that's the way that people are wanting to request this. We haven't seen, I'm not sure if we've seen an uptick on requests for mail-in voting, but once again, we just mailed that out to everyone there, so we're still receiving it back. I just, so a lot of the critical pre-election activities are underway. The early voting centers are finalized, except for one in Washington County. That is subject to litigation right now. We have a hearing scheduled with the Supreme Court of Maryland on February 4th. And, so there is 97 early voting centers for 2024, which is one less than in 2022. And that was due to population decrease in Prince George's County. So everything is pretty much set for early voting. And once we have that one facility set, we will, of course, work with the local boards to make sure that it comes through the state board and it meets all the requirements necessary for an early voting center. Election day polling place plans have been approved for all counties except for two, which was Baltimore City and Prince George's. Baltimore City is due to the redistricting and underway, so we're expecting that in early February. And Prince George's will be presented to the local board, to the State Board of Elections on the January 25th board meeting. So just next week. There was a delay there due to the fact that they did not have an election director or a deputy director for long periods of time, major staff turnovers for staff. But we have worked with them and make sure that they are, making good progress now that they have hired their election director. All this will, of course, be available on our websites. And the Dropbox plans are nearly finalized as well. We have 286 drop boxes, which is 4 more than in 2022. So I tried to make sure that we have more locations with the drop boxes, and they are basically going to be deployed and coordinated and with the distribution of the mail-in ballots. So roughly when mail-in ballots start going out 43 days, we'll wait for a little bit of time for the mail to hit and then distribute all the drop boxes out there to the locations. We have started, of course, the election judges trainings with the local boards using our training contract here. The materials for the judges have been finalized, and of course, the recruitment is underway. So I think we have been really doing well on that front there. And one of the things too is that we have a lot of our critical contracts now are in place as well. We have our printing contracts for the voter registration applications that has been out and updated, provisional ballot applications, activation cards, ballot printing contracts have all been used and moved forward with it. And one of the bigger things now is the poll books. And we can kind of talk a little bit about the poll books here. We were supposed to implement a new poll book solution for this election. And it was supposed, but when I first came on board in September, the new poll book solution did not meet minimum viable product standards for us. Sure.
I can't be the only one. Can you tell us what a poll book is, please?
Sure. Sorry. So a poll book is basically checking in a voter to vote. So it just makes sure that they have all the voter registration information, that the voter is at the right facility, and then will receive the right ballot. And then they sign the little card afterwards. So it's just checking in the voter. And once the voter's been checked in, then they vote, and that's when they can't vote ever again, because then this is how we make sure that there is no double voters at that point there. Or if they try to attempt a vote again, and we've already checked you in once, then you vote provisionally. And, then the Board of Canvassers later on will review that and say, well, that person has either voted mail-in or anything. And it also puts in their status if they have a mail-in ballot. So that's kind of it. So this is kind of the first, it was supposed to be electronic, it was supposed to be on tablets. It was, having all the data in there. And the solution that we had did not meet any of the standards. We had to basically delay the implementation of that for the 2024 election. We have, revamped our existing poll books, which was, more of an older solution. It was about 20, let's say about, 15 to 20 years old, the solution here. It has the capabilities to handle same-day voter registration and all the requirements here. So we have been updating that and making sure that it's been ready for it. One of the things was that as we were moving forward with the new poll book solution here, we've increased a little bit of our population, so we might need more poll books. But these poll books were 20 years old, the existing ones here. This is one of the first things I did in September, was I scoured my counterparts across the country here to see who has these poll books. We found Georgia had a few poll books that we had down there. It was about 140 poll books that they had that were in a warehouse. We procured those 140, which was I enjoyed it as just a legal person. I was making this weird state to state contract between for us to buy this. So just a little speaking out on being a legal attorney there. But yes, and we have now an additional 140 to come in to use as spare parts or just as spares, because some of these poll books, the batteries are, at the end, we have tried to procure as many new batteries for these, for the poll books to move forward. And I think that we should be in a good place now with the spares, and the local boards have appreciated that. And we also have transportation and staffing contracts that are there to make sure that we have, returned the ballot boxes and voting equipments to all the locations. So all the contracts are necessary that are in place for the 2024 election are, set to move forward with it and underway. Additionally, we are making a big push for communication and education. We have a statewide voter education and outreach program that we're going to engage very shortly with our voters. It's about planning on how to make a plan to vote, making sure you're registered. But we talk about the 3 ways of voting: early, by mail, and by drop boxes. So just kind of that's huge on that front there. And it's basically one of the nicer things too is that we're going to do a new front page for this ad campaign here, so that when voters engage in this, it's going to hit a different landing page. So we're going to see how effective this ad campaign is with it, because we can then track voters who come in through that. And with that, then we'll able to make sure that we can tag them and provide more information to them later on. So, I mean, this is the modern way of communicating and, making sure using all the tools that are available to us to make effective communications with it. We also had the 2023 OLA, which is the Office of Legislative Auditors, findings on this. One of This was something that I walked into, and I think that we have started to make good headway about that. It highlighted in areas to improve in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Um, how to enhance our procedures for identifying potential deceased or duplicate voters, which is what I talked about earlier on, making sure our voter rolls are up to date. And basically areas when tracking payroll. One of the biggest things here is that we have requested additional personnel positions to handle some of the audit findings, especially in the voter registration division there and programming of ballot databases. And along the lines with the double voters, we have engaged in a partnership with the Office of the State Prosecutor, and we have a new memorandum of understanding with that, with the State Prosecutor, to ensure people that have multiple voting credits are investigated and what the procedure is and what evidence they want necessary to launch an investigation in there. So we've kind of hit the streets running on that to rectify those findings as quickly as possible here. On campaign finance, which is still near and dear to my heart here, you're all prohibited from fundraising now. That welcome to session. So always happy to answer those questions, or Alan is now. You can always give him a call or email on that front there. We just recently had the annual report that was due yesterday, and we had 94% compliance, timely filing. So that's very good. I'm happy about that. One of the things that I want to make sure that people are aware of is that if you participate or if you want to give money to a Baltimore City mayoral candidate, that it may trigger additional reporting requirements for you, because now you're participating in the Baltimore City election year and you would owe those campaign finance reports. Right now, you're on the gubernatorial cycle and you just had to file the annual report, and then the next one will be due in 25. But if you engage in an election, not federal, but if you engage in a candidate, in Baltimore City, you'll owe those reports as well. On enforcement actions, one of the things was that in 2023, we paid particular attention to independent expenditure entities. And we had, I would say, a record year on that. In June, we had settled a civil action against the Sports Betting Alliance for $48,000, which was the largest civil penalty collected in SBE's history. And we basically went after independent expenditures. They were fined and paid a total of over $125,000 in civil penalties in 25. All total, we collected over $158,000 in civil penalties. That includes also fining committees. Independent expenditure entities have a much stiffer penalty. It's $1,000 a day versus some of the political committees, which is, on the average, $100, $50 here. So, but it does add up, and it does have I would say the correct effect, which is to ensure compliance among all the others. As as they get reported, other committees kind of fall into line and go, we don't want to be fined moving forward there. Late fees, we collected over $330,000 in Title 13, which is on political committees, and for businesses that, for persons doing public business, which is Title 14, we collected over $50,000. And we completed an audit of all the campaign finance reports for 2021 and 2022. On the state public financing portion here, we have over $8.3 million in the fund right now. And we notified the governor to include over $623,000 in this year's budget to basically ensure that it's fully funded. And this is the first time in the program's history that it will be fully funded. And it was thank you to the members of the General Assembly to passing that bill to ensure that the program will always be fully funded with that. On the local level here, Baltimore City has its first election using the public financing program, and we're working closely with the city for its implementation. Currently, one candidate has been certified for its to be certified, and others have filed. And in 2026, I'm looking for Baltimore County and Prince George's counties to come online for the first time ever. So we'll have 4 counties then doing public financing in 2026, with Montgomery and Howard leading the way, and the other 2 brand new. Looking forward to the 2026 cycle, because, at this point here, 2024 is pretty much, in progress and going forward here, but we always have to look forward. We're looking forward to getting a new poll book solution here for implementation on that. And, we're going to make sure that it's, ready, and we're going to look at it. This delay has cost us about 2 years in development time here, and has also affected, I would say, other long-term strategic goals here, which is a new voting system, which was supposed to be developed for the 2026 cycle here. We're still looking forward to moving forward with that because our contract expires. We're going to issue an RFP, but we have to look at it realistically here of how this one contract has impacted us, because the same people that actually do all the testing for poll books and making sure that it complies with Maryland law, and making sure that election judges know how to use it and updating the manuals, are the same people that would be doing the same testing for the voting solutions as well. So this might have a cascade rippling effect. The one thing that we know that is date certain that cannot be moved is redistricting in 2030. And so we want to make sure that we have an up-to-date voting registration system, and before that, to make sure that when you do redistricting, we can just basically take your data and import it directly into the system and not have people manually touching it, because when you have more manually touching it, that's where errors occur, and we have to double check everything. So the more streamlined, the more automated the system becomes, the better off we all are for lack of errors. So that's kind of the overall looking forward there. And once again, I just want for this cycle here, for this session here, we have 2 departmental bills upcoming here. So thank you for introducing those. And we have one issue that I know that we're going to have to address, which is State Board of Canvassers and the Electoral Count Reform Act, that we have to just kind of move some deadlines there. Thank you. But overall, we just want to make sure that, we're less than 4 months away from the primary election here. Election judges have been recruited, as I said, and, training is underway. So please, no substantial changes for this election cycle here. It's just too close for everything. And one of the things is, you just don't want to have different rules for the primary and then for the general at this point here. And it will allow the local boards, anytime we can, if you want to pass it, look for 26, because that will be enough time for the local boards then to ensure, I would say, complete compliance and, the effectiveness on that piece of legislation. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, State Administrator Demarinis. Congratulations again. We're very excited about your leadership. I wanted to first start by asking the gentleman who is the new director of campaign finance, if he could just introduce himself quickly. Sure. Just come up and. Sure. We know we'll be working with you a lot, and we're excited to get to know you and who you are. So if you could just quickly introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Alan Norfleet. I just moved to Maryland, so I'm new. I was in Arlington, Virginia. My whole career.
Welcome to the great side.
Oh yes. Glad to be here. The drivers are scary, but I'm adjusting. But it's been a great experience. My whole career has been campaign finance. I started as an analyst at the FEC, so I'm very versed in federal. So if you have questions for that, I can help also with that. Because I know several are running in the US Congress and Senate and State House. So feel free to give me a call. I'm available. I'm here to help you all. And I'm still dependent on Jared for the short period because he's got a lot of things to download for sure. But I'm definitely here to, if I can't find it, I'll look in the codes and election law articles and I will deep dive into that and I'll be glad to get you an answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And since you mentioned it, and this can be offline, not to put
Yes.
you on the spot, but I know in the same vein as the Baltimore City elections and what that could trigger, I know we have several colleagues and folks outside the General Assembly that are running for different positions, like federal positions, things like that. And I know that there are maximums that trigger certain reporting, federal reporting as well. So I think that the membership would benefit, whether here today or by follow-up, just understanding some of those guidelines. I know there are maximums when it comes to federal
It's
elections.
like $1,000 or less for an election year, but you know, yeah, we can probably send out like at least a one pager to everyone here on that. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. My last question deals with in terms of the CRIS system. I know that for years it isn't the most user friendly. We just had our big day yesterday. I know
Yes.
all of us in this committee have our reports in on time. I think it's 100%. I hope in this committee, right? Yes, we're gonna assume so. Jared is not answering. We're
Exactly.
gonna-
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't looked at it. I was still up answering calls at
Yes.
11 o'clock at night. So
Right, right. But I was just wondering, the system isn't always the most user friendly. I know it was challenged yesterday with so many people using it. I do want to shout out my amazing treasurer, Julio, and everyone's treasurers who worked so hard to get those finance reports in. Are there any plans on just updating the system, identifying a new system, or just
Yes.
anything like that?
So the answer is yes. Yeah, this system is like all technology is run its life course. And we are, in the development stages for a new procurement for that system now, which is going to be implemented hopefully for the next election of, I would say for 2025, but if not for the 2026 annual report for you. So you might have one more on the CRIS system. If not, you're looking at a new, faster, speedier, more up-to-date process for 2026.
That's wonderful news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Delegate Henson.
Chair, my question is about safety at the election sites. We had a few separate incidents in Anne Arundel County, one where a gentleman was filming folks who were going in and out of the voting site and citing, I guess, his right to be in public and filming in public. But it gave people a lot of trepidation and it was intimidating for some folks. And then we've had other instances where police have been called to settle disputes that have happened outside, whether it's electioneering too close or whatever it may be, just keeping the peace and civility at our sites. What's being done to make sure that the public and then also our election judges are safe when we're voting?
So I think one of the things is that we're training the election judges on some of the issues that are occurring with there on how to make sure that they can handle it. We're looking at the election article right now to see what we can do to beef that up. One of the things was that I noticed was that in 16203, I believe it is, it talks about if there's it at a polling place on election day. These are kind of laws that we need to kind of like look at and make sure that they're up to date. It has had an effect on, I would say, election judge retention. And I think if we move forward with any sort of election protection of election judges and election workers, that would be a good first step in battling that the area there. I think a lot of them feel as though that they're not being protected or heard in that situation. And so I think that, hopefully we can move forward with some good pieces of legislation on that front there this year.
Thank you. And not to speak for the committee, but I'm sure we'd be interested in any insights you have in partnering with you and your team to make sure that we get that just right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Delegate Palakovich Carr.
Okay, thank you. Again, congratulations, Mr.
Thank you.
Demarinis. A comment and a question. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for your help and your staff's help this interim in terms of dealing with an issue in regards to confidentiality of information of voters who are victims of domestic violence and survivors of domestic violence. So thank you all for your efforts on that front. Much appreciated. You mentioned about permanent absentee ballots and kind of the outreach that's being completed or maybe just was completed. Can you speak to what the future plans are? Like as new people are registering to vote in Maryland, will they be informed of the option to join the permanent absentee ballot list kind of
So-
on an ongoing basis?
So this is that mailing that occurred right now. So everyone that comes in right now has gotten that mailer. But yes, we are going to do other, as people come in and register to vote, they get into the other batch. So right now it's all if you were registered, a newly registered Democrat or Republican, as well as every registered Democrat and Republican who is not on the permanent absentee ballot list, receive this mailer. Then there's going to be another batch that we're going to send out right before the general election again. So which will get all the new voters as well on that front there to engage them on that. So, yes.
Delegate Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question. You mentioned AI earlier. You called it AI being. So I just wanted to get a little more clarity on what it is and what you're hoping to use it, how you're hoping to use it.
So we're engaging with Google tech and making sure that we have the ability to answer questions quickly. And so we're giving the information of all the codes and regulations and I would say procedures into the
Chatbot?
AI. Yeah,
Chatbot?
chatbot. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And so, and we're now in the testing phases. So we're testing, we're asked, like, how do I register to vote? And we want to see the answer that it would provide back to us. So one of the things is that we're still making sure that one of the staff members will review the answers. So it's basically cut and paste the question into the chatbot. The chatbot would then give us an answer. We would review that answer to see if that was correct, and then we'd be able to move forward with it and deliver it to the voter, because it would just save time, because then it just automatically types it up for you, the answer. But we're in the testing phases now to see, the answers that it provides, how accurate it is, and what methods we need to ensure that when it's not accurate, how to bring it into, make accurate answers. So it's in the development stage, but it's something that it's new, and we wanted to be on the cutting edge of it. It was a big marquee event also at the biennial conference that I had in October. We talked about it and its use of it, because we know that it's being used by campaigns and by others. So we wanted to engage it as well to see what we can do to, ensure efficiency with the voters.
I would imagine that it would be very helpful with campaign finance also.
It would be. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Delegate Wims.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good to see you again. A constituent had written to our office to ask if a elected official in the state of Maryland, could they also be the campaign manager of a local campaign?
So as a candidate, no. Well, it depends if it's, when you say local, is it a municipal election?
County,
No, because once you're a candidate, you can't be a treasurer or you have any sort of control over another entity, because it could be a way to circumvent contribution limits. You can say, oh, I give to this candidate here, and then that candidate just makes transfers into your campaign, or you form a slate. So no.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know you don't weigh in on policy, so I want to try to ask this question and to not put you in a position to weigh in on actual policy, but we've had lots of conversations with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle related to early voting and how much of that's been cannibalized by mail-in balloting, because it's 8 days. It's a lot of hours put in by staff and by election judges, and the length of early voting, I'm sure, is a hindrance to finding election judges. And we obviously want every single Marylander to have the opportunity to vote. But is there any data, or can we accumulate the data, try to find out if it would be viable to reduce the early voting days to not limit people's access because of the amount of time that's now frankly wasted based upon mail-in voting?
So I would say this in a sense that this is the first presidential election post-COVID. You know, if you look at it it's almost, COVID is a defining moment in election administration ways. Pre-COVID, mail-in voting was 5 to 6%, right? And it was about a third on early voting, the rest early on election day. COVID occurred, it changed. 22 was the first kind of election post-COVID. You can't, I would say, extrapolate any sort of data points off of that one election. I think this election here will provide a good data point and a basis for what it means for a presidential election. And I hate to say it, but by 26, you'll have a third one here. You can then start seeing some charts, like this is what it would mean on a gubernatorial election year. This is, so we can see where it would mean, well, if that's how we can, look at for gubernatorial election years, then we can kind of use the second point and use the other two for the next presidential year. But I think we have to kind of refocus and look at the data starting from 22 forward. And I think it's just too soon, which is why I think these plans that were initiated here are good, because we can put them together as a holistic type of approach per county and see where people are really voting and the shifts that have occurred. So
Thank you.
Any further questions from the committee? I have two quick questions for you. One, so in 2022, if you remember, there were in the city 12 flash drives that went missing, and it was a big deal. The folks that responded that worked at the local election board there said it was not unusual, and it happens, and they went through some bags and they found it the next day, I guess. But if you were just your average person watching on TV, it was kind of alarming and shocking. So, and I don't know if you've thought about this or just in your role, but I'm hearing some amens from my friend from the city over there. Oh, sorry, it's from Delegate Long. He's next door. He's from the county. So what types of training moving forward is going to be done with, I guess, the folks that work there to make sure that doesn't happen, or they don't, I don't know where they're supposed to put these flash drives. I don't know where they're supposed to store them, but just to make sure that doesn't happen again.
So I'm making sure I'm engaged with the Baltimore City Board of Elections as well over there. And I think one of I would say, it's almost like it's also a little bit of a personnel problem as well, because the local board of directors are outside of any sort of, I would say, review or personnel action by the state administrator. If they don't follow policy, they report directly to the boards themselves. They're hired and fired by them. So it's a little bit of, they're supposed to follow all the state guidelines here, but there is really no true stick attached to that. But I'm engaged with the Baltimore City election, making sure that they're compliant, and we all want to make sure that election, the presidential election is our big election, but internally here, that is the marquee election for the state, news board guys. So yes,
Okay.
that's very important.
The other question is, when it comes to the public financing, so right now, I think you said Montgomery County, I know Howard County has it, and they don't have it for all. What types of, or are there kinks that you're working out? Are we gonna wait and see how it's going before we try to expand it? I don't know if other counties or jurisdictions are gonna try to hop on. I think you said Prince George's and someone else. I think you
Baltimore
said.
County.
Baltimore County.
Yes.
So in terms of, I guess, our counties, Montgomery and Howard County, have there been any major issues since
No,
it's been implemented?
I think Montgomery's, we've gone swimmingly. We actually won I think a NACO award, which is the National Association of County for its implementation in 2020. It was 2016. I think it was 2016 was the first time. So it won a national award for its implementation on that one there. So, high participation. I think that it's been it's been very effective and successful in both those counties. So that the expansion is a General Assembly initiative, but our agency is always willing to work with the county and to include as many offices there. It's just computer programming changes and making sure that it's there. And now it's Alan's problem, so it's not even mine. I can say so.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Delegate Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've brought this discussion up once or twice about providing some type of system for seniors. Definitely during a presidential election, I've actually witnessed people standing in line for 3 hours. Some of our seniors, that's pretty tough. I was wondering if you tried to address this with the local jurisdictions to come up with a protocol that if a person can't stand there for 3 hours, we should be able to provide them with some place to sit, and then when it's their turn, they can go up and vote. I was just wondering if you really looked into that, and is that something we could do before the presidential election? Because I got a feeling we're going to have a lot of long lines.
Well, I hope we don't have a lot of long lines and people hopefully can avail themselves to the other options here, like early vote and, mail-in voting. But if there are lines there, then we've had some issues with that in the past. And I've talked to a couple of the local election directors. I think that they've instituted like a ticking method where they give a ticket to the person in front or behind, and they allow the senior to sit down and move forward with it. But I think it's more it's more, I would say, polling place by polling place, because they're kind of all different where they can do. But I think that they have tried to accommodate as much as possible in those situations here. But we can follow up with you on that to make sure that that they are trying to do more on that front.
Well, I appreciate it. Actually, in my district, we had several polling places that there were 3 hour lines because of heavy voter turnout, which bless my heart, I'm like, this is great.
Exactly.
And you see a senior citizen standing there for 3 hours, that makes it all worthwhile. And we want to make sure that if we can facilitate them, if they need someplace to sit. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a senior citizen now and I wouldn't mind having a place to sit, but
Exactly.
thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Committee, that concludes today's briefing. We will be back in 1 hour for a briefing on gaming at 1 p.m. See you then.